Yo, what is up guys? It is Schultz31 back with a brand new video. Today we are going to be going over 6 college football head coaches who are in the hot seat going into 2022. Number 6, Herm Edwards. Herm Edwards has built Arizona State into something special. However, last spring, it was announced that Arizona State had made a bunch of violations with recruiting during COVID and continued to recruit past the deadline date when no other school in the FBS was allowed to recruit. Arizona State snuck in some recruits and had them break several NCAA violations, such as having meetings with the coaches and players way past the restriction dates because of COVID. Although they did have a pretty solid 2021 season, going 8-5, but losing to Wisconsin in the Las Vegas Bowl. Due to all the NCAA recruiting violations though, Herm Edwards is still in the hot seat going into 2022. Unless if you have been living under a rock these past few days, hopefully most of y'all have known what has happened with Bryan Harsin at Auburn. After the 2020 season, Gus Malzahn was fired, and Boise State head coach Bryan Harsin was brought in as the next head football coach for the Auburn Tigers. Bryan Harsin's team actually started out the season hot, starting out 6-2 and beating number 21 Arkansas and number 11 Ole Miss, but would then lose their last 4 games of the season, which included a blowout loss to Texas A&M, a tough loss on the road to Mississippi State, and then choked against South Carolina, a game that they were up 14-0 at in the end of the first quarter, but then would lose 21-17 on a muff punt. And then the following week, Auburn would actually have a lead against number 2 Alabama, but just like against South Carolina, they would choke and lose that game in double overtime, finishing the regular season 6-6. And would face off against number 17 Houston in the Birmingham Bowl. Auburn would then lose to Houston in the Birmingham Bowl 17-13, finishing the year 6-7 overall. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better for Bryan Harsin, as over the last week, it was announced that he was allegedly cheating on his wife, bringing in a female assistant to work with him in the athletic department from Boise State to Auburn. And because of this, Bryan Harsin, as of right now, is in hot water, and there's been a lot of talk about Auburn firing him. As of right now, nothing has happened yet, and he still has his job. But still, this would be the right time if Auburn wanted to do it, as they would not have to pay him a buyout, and they are already having to pay Gus Malzahn several $1 million for the next few years. Up next, Scott Satterfield. After Bobby Petrino got fired from Louisville, many people thought that Scott Satterfield could save Louisville football, as in his first year, he went 8-5 and won the Music City Bowl against Mississippi State. However, Louisville would regress in 2020, as they then went 4-7, and Scott Satterfield interviewed for the South Carolina head coaching job, which was not a good look for him at Louisville. Louisville would improve in 2021, finishing the regular season 6-6, however would lose to Air Force in the First Responders Bowl, finishing the year 6-7. And now Scott Satterfield is in the hot seat going into 2022. However, if he does have a winning season in 2022, he will most likely be able to keep his job. Number 3, Geoff Collins, Georgia Tech. Things at Georgia Tech just have not seemed to work out for Geoff Collins. As we all know, things did not start out well for Geoff Collins back in 2019 when he was first hired to be the Yellow Jackets head coach, as in his first season they went 3-9 with a loss to the Citadel and FCS team. And in 2020, it did not get any better, as the Yellow Jackets went 3-7 and Geoff Collins was now in the hot seat going into 2021. 2021 was no different from 2019 and 2020, as the Yellow Jackets once again had a 3-win season, went 3-9, and their only really impressive win was a blowout win over a bowl-eligible North Carolina team. Somehow, Geoff Collins did not get fired after 2021, but he is going into the hot seat yet again in 2022, and if he doesn't get this thing going, he most likely will not have a job after next season. Number 2, Mike Norvell, Florida State. These last 5 years have been some of the darkest days of FSU football. After a disappointing 3-6 season back in 2020, Mike Norvell's Florida State Seminoles were supposed to improve in 2021, and although they did by a 2-game difference, it sure didn't seem like much. Despite almost beating Notre Dame in the season opener, they lost to Jacksonville State at home, who was an FCS team, and finished the year 5-7, losing to a terrible Florida team at the end of the season, which would end their hopes of getting to a bowl game. I understand it takes a few years to build a program, but considering the fact that Florida State is in the state of Florida, this should not be a long rebuild. Yes, it was a disaster under Willie Taggart, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better under Mike Norvell, but hey, they probably should give him another year and see what he does. If he is able to make a bowl game next year, he will be off the hot seat. However, if he doesn't get it going next year or doesn't make a bowl game, he will most likely be fired. To be fair, you have to give Florida State credit as they only gave him a 1-year contract extension. So in case if this doesn't work out next year, it will be easy to fire him without having to pay much of the buyout. Number 1, Scott Frost. To be fair, Scott Frost has had to have been one of the most disappointing coaches in college football. After he had a ton of success at UCF, he was hired to be the head football coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers after the 2017 season. It seemed like a perfect fit. He played there, he was an alumni, and he seemed like he was the perfect guy to save the Nebraska football program. But he has had yet to even make a bowl game in his 4 years as the head coach of Nebraska. In his first season with the Cornhuskers in 2018, he went 4-8. Then in 2019, they went 5-7. And then in the weird year of 2020 with COVID, they went 3-5. And Scott Frost was in the hot seat going into 2021. And as we all know, 2021 did not go any better for the Cornhuskers than the 3 previous seasons did, as they went 3-9, although they did play some pretty good teams pretty close, and because of this, Scott Frost is getting another year. However, just like with Mike Norvell, if he does not get Nebraska to a bowl game next year, he will most likely be fired. But that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share, and tell me what your thoughts are in the comments. What other head coaches may lose their job in 2022?
You about to lose your job. You about to lose your job. Get this thing.
Thanks for watching, and bye.